welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring some really striking insights from Lev Neymotin, a PhD who's looked closely at classic science fiction.
Specifically Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles.
Right. And Neymotin sees these, well, almost uncanny parallels between Bradbury's vision and our world right now.
And it's interesting, Neymotin himself has a unique perspective. He came to the U.S. from the Soviet Union back in 1979.
Oh, okay.
And he encountered Bradbury's work as a teenager, and it clearly stuck with him. So this isn't just like dry analysis, it's personal.
That makes sense. So the core idea, Neymotin thinks Bradbury's book from 1948, mapping out a future up to 2026,
has this eerie alignment, as he calls it, with today.
And crucially, it's not just about, predicting rocket ships.
No, not at all. It's deeper. It's about us humanity.
And we're largely drawing from Neymotin's open letter, written just last year, 2025.
That's right. To Elon, from Earth, Bradbury's final question. It kind of sets up this dialogue between Bradbury's imagination and Musk's actual Mars ambitions.
Fascinating. So today we're going to unpack Neymotin's view on how Bradbury's predictions sort of materialized.
Yeah, looking at technology, society, what it all means, especially with space exploration looming.
Okay, let's get into it. Neymotin's first read of the Martian Chronicles. It sounds like it hit him pretty hard. What was it about the writing?
Well, he talks about Bradbury's style being really distinctive, rich, but also somehow simple, direct.
Mm-hmm.
He even makes this comparison like Hemingway 2 or Bradbury 1. He mentions these powerful, short sentences, almost loaded. And the prose itself, he calls it lyrical.
So it wasn't just the story, but how it was told.
Exactly. Even back then, as a kid in the Soviet Union, that style resonated. It felt important.
To sci-fi.
Absolutely. For Neymotin, it felt almost prophetic. He stresses how Bradbury writing, way back then,
Late 40s, right?
yeah, seemed to sense not just the tech coming, but the whole human picture around it. A future that now feels disturbingly familiar, like a reflection.
And this timeline, Bradbury set out, 1948 to 2026. Neymotin argues the real predictions weren't the obvious ones.
That's his key point. Forget the Martians for a second. Bradbury was using Mars, using the future as a lens to look at humanity.
Our potential, our flaws.
Both. Our innovations, yes, but also our failings, our dreams, and maybe, Neymotin suggests, our tendency to kind of fall apart.
He uses that mirror analogy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Bradbury's future reflecting our present.
Precisely. The Martian Chronicles isn't a crystal ball, in Neymotin's view. It's reflecting underlying human patterns that Bradbury saw even then.
And Neymotin really zeroes in on one particular aspect of that reflection.
Right. This growing gap. This deeper dissonance, he calls it.
Okay, what exactly is this dissonance?
It's the idea that our technology, our ability to build amazing, powerful things is just leaping forward, right?
Undeniably.
But our wisdom, our ethics, or sort of emotional maturity, maybe it's not keeping pace.
Ah, so we get these godlike machines.
Within what Neymotin calls a brittle society. A society maybe not quite ready to handle the power it's created.
That's a sobering thought.
It is. The fear wasn't if we could build the tech, but if we'd be wise enough when we did. That's the tension.
And this connects to an idea of spiritual drift, too.
Yeah.
Like we're getting lost in the gadgets.
Yes. Neymotin thinks Bradbury saw us developing this almost childlike awe for technology.
Ooh, shiny new toy.
Kind of, yeah. But maybe losing touch with deeper values, or even each other in the process. Think about it, constant connection, but maybe less actual connection.
I see what you mean.
Neymotin even pulls that quote from the book, something like, "Science running too far ahead. People got lost, emphasizing machines instead of how to run the machines."
Wow. That really hits home today, doesn't it?
It really does. And Neymotin points out other specific things Bradbury seemed to anticipate, even before the tech existed.
Like what? It's amazing he could see this stuff in 1948.
I know. Neymotin mentions Bradbury warning about mass media making thought shallower.
Okay, yeah.
And, get this, anticipating digital distraction before microchips were even a thing.
Seriously, how?
It's incredible. Plus, Neymotin says Bradbury depicted this struggle to keep Earth unified, hinting at wars, cultural breakdown.
So, a world with amazing tech, but maybe shaky foundations. How does Mars fit into that picture in Bradbury's story? Is it the escape hatch?
That's what Neymotin argues against. He says Bradbury's Mars isn't an escape at all. It's, well, there's that mirror idea again.
We just recreate Earth's problems there.
You project ourselves onto it, yeah. Both the good and the bad. Neymotin points straight to that famous ending, The Million-Year Picnic.
Ah, where they look in the water.
And the father says, there are the Martians. looking at their own reflections.
Chilling. So we are the aliens we might find.
Basically. Neymotin's take is that Bradbury believed we carry our baggage, our issues, our search for meaning wherever we go. Mars won't fix us automatically. We need interchange first.
Which brings us to Neymotin's letter to Elon Musk.
Exactly. He acknowledges what Musk has achieved, building the ships, aiming for Mars by 2026.
The exact year Bradbury's story culminates.
The exact year. But then Neymotin asks the big question.
Which is?
Essentially, are we ready for the destination? We can build the rockets, chart the course, but are we, as humans, prepared for what Mars represents?
He's channeling Bradbury's fear there, isn't he? Not that we can't get there.
But that we might get there and just mess it up. Repeat our mistakes on a whole new world. Ruin it.
And Neymotin doesn't exactly paint a rosy picture of Earth right now, does he?
No, he describes it as a time of spectacular technology and weakened institutions.
What does he point to specifically?
Things like a distracting media spectacle, declining education standards, social divisions, shortening attention spans.
It sounds familiar.
Right. He keeps coming back to that gap. Technology racing ahead, while our ethics, our emotional growth lags behind. That dissonance Bradbury wrote about.
He uses the phrase spiritual gravity, suggesting we've lost something fundamental.
Yeah, like the shared values, the sense of purpose, maybe the resilience that holds a society together. He feels that's weakening, maybe even accelerating.
Which makes the idea of just picking up and moving to Mars seem problematic.
Deeply problematic from Neymotin's perspective. Unless
the mission itself changes us.
That seems to be his hope. That aiming for Mars isn't just about escape, but could be, maybe, a mission to rediscover what we've lost.
Like purpose, stewardship, wonder.
Resilience. Yeah. A chance to reflect, maybe redefine what a thriving civilization actually looks like.
Now, Bradbury's 2026 in the book.
Yeah.
That was pretty dark, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Bleak. Earth is devastated by war. The survivors flee to Mars, kind of disillusioned.
And Neymotin sees this striking parallel with Musk aiming for the same year.
It's hard to ignore the symmetry, isn't it? But Neymotin throws in a twist, a kind of what if.
Okay.
What if, unlike Bradbury's characters, we arrive on Mars prepared? Not just technically, but meaningfully.
With a better sense of direction. Having maybe closed that gap between tech and wisdom.
Exactly. What if we actually aligned our social and cultural growth with our tech growth? For Neymotin, that would be the real triumph.
Not just planting a flag.
No. Becoming, as he puts it, a civilization actually worthy of a second planet.
Wow. So despite all the warnings drawn from Bradbury, Neymotin isn't anti-progress.
Not at all. He's clear about that. He says he's a believer in ambitious futures, admires people like Musk.
He sees the warning and the building as connected.
Two sides of the same coin, he calls it. Bradbury's wisdom, Musk's action, halves of the same quest.
So the message is, build, but build wisely.
Build with intention, yeah. Remember Bradbury's insights. Don't just export our dysfunctions. Try to, become the best version of ourselves.
And his final thought is quite pointed about where we are right now.
Yeah, he basically says, look, it's 2025. We still have a little time before 2026. We can still influence whether Bradbury was right, or maybe prove him both right and wrong.
Right about the potential pitfalls, but wrong about our ability to maybe navigate them.
Something like that. The choice, or at least the possibility, is still there.
Okay, so wrapping this up. Neymotin's core argument is that Bradbury's sci-fi is way more than just predicting gadgets. It's a powerful lens on us, on humanity.
Especially this dangerous imbalance between how fast our tech evolves and how slowly, maybe, our wisdom does.
And listening to this, you really start to see Neymotin's analysis as a framework for thinking about our own times, our own choices.
Definitely. Particularly as we think about huge leaps like going to Mars. It forces you to ask tough questions.
Which leads to a final thought for everyone listening. Building on Neymotin's question. As our technology keeps accelerating, what can you personally do?
Yeah, what steps can you take to maybe nurture that wisdom, that maturity we need, whether we end up on Mars or stay right here?
What does being part of a civilization worthy of a second planet actually mean in your day-to-day life? It's definitely something to chew on.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.